I can't hear it. No one's speaking about it. Unspoken break time, energy conservation, and how you can use these two concepts to beat people significantly better than you at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, even if you're only a white belt. To understand unspoken break time, we first have to talk about energy conservation as a concept. There are, we'll say, primary ways to win in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The first way is to completely overpower your opponent or put them in such a compromising position that they cannot beat your move, even if they were trying as hard as they can with their utmost strength. An example of this would be if you put someone in the back control position, even if they're trying as hard as they can, they don't really have a lot of leverage, and you kind of have a bunch of things to your favor, and you can sort of overpower them. A better example would be in the stretched out mount position, where you have one arm sort of raised up behind your head, and you've seen Gordon Ryan. You know what this looks like. And then you can submit people from there because there's nothing they can do. A second way would be to trick people. So let's say, for example, you are able to meet their force with a redirection, and really this means like arm drag or go around or like pull into the legs, or do something that's not expected, that's not exactly overpowering them, being force with force, but if you can go around them and maybe get a submission that they weren't expecting and they didn't know existed, like you were able to wrap their lapel up around their neck and choke them before they realized what was going on. Wrist locks, leg locks, heel hooks. A trick is another way to beat somebody. But the third way, and the reason, and what this video is about, is breaking people's will to the point where they cannot do jiu-jitsu anymore. So even if they are the best person in the world, you can beat them as a white belt. And no one talks about it. And everyone seems to have the same break, the same pace, the same deep breath in the middle of a roll. Perhaps you guys had a big long scramble and then you finally collapse into position and it's closed guard and you guys both accept that, okay, this is where we are. And for 15 to 10 seconds, you both kind of collect your breath, and then you're like, okay, we're gonna go from this position and start working from there. And no one talks about okay, we're gonna take a break, but it's sort of like this unspoken agreement. This ties into energy conservation because the more you are beating your opponent in the energy conservation game, the more times they will put out an unspoken request to have a slight break. Now, this could be in a bunch of different positions. Usually it's in the ones where people recognize as standard positions and will drill moves from, but it technically could be in any configuration in 3D space. Most common would be guards, so close guard, half guard. If you're really beating the energy game, they might start to take that breath and side control. They're like, oh, fine, you passed me. Okay, I'll just set up my frames, whatever. Mount, the further along the train this goes, the less relevant this is, because it can even be an open guard situation where you're both kind of like, oh, okay, and then they're kind of scooting or whatever, and you're maybe top of it. It doesn't matter. But generally, it's sort of these recognized positions. You don't really have an unspoken break time in the middle of a scramble or in the middle of a transition. Just what I've noticed. So when you're more athletic than your opponent, or let's say you're able to do the types of moves that put pressure on your opponent without necessarily taking from your gas tank, so having a strong collar tie and riding heavy on that without letting them put pressure on your neck, it's sort of like making them do a squat with your body weight. And to hold someone like this and sort of rest on them doesn't take a lot of energy, but it costs them a lot of energy. Likewise, if you take somebody down and end up on top of them, that takes a lot of energy for you. But if you get on top of them and get a controlling dominant position, usually you're going to be winning the energy conservation game, because they're going to spaz out for a minute and freak, and then we settle in the position, and that's the unspoken break time. And what I'm advocating for, don't tell anybody I told you this, during that request for unspoken break time, become extremely greedy and try to end the match. Now, this could result in a 3-move win on you, and I've had people get offended and not necessarily know how to articulate why they're offended, because we will be in the middle of a match, and let's say, for example, they open themselves up for a takedown, and I initiate the takedown, boom, and then we land on the ground, and then there's like a bit of a scramble, and it's like not quite a guard position, and let's say they're a little bit tired, maybe it's their second or third roll, same with me, and they go, oh, and they catch that breath. That's when I go right for the next thing. And as soon as I get there, as soon as I get to position, let's say knee on belly, I go to mount, and as soon as I go to mount, I try to get the stretch out, and as soon as I get that, I try to get a submission. And if you go boom, 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 you can do that in about 3 or 4 seconds, which is the entire length of the unspoken break time. And people are kind of left like, they don't even realize what, I mean, they do kind of realize what happened, but it's just overwhelming. And here's where the game gets spicy. When you get super duper good, you are able to do things at low energy that take high energy. Let's say you were playing a video game, mana, for example, your stamina, the elixir points you're going to spend out. Let's say you get really good at jiu-jitsu. You can shoot for takedowns or back take attempts or sweep attempts or submission attempts with like 2 mana points, 2 elixir, 2 stamina points that take maybe 3 or 4 to defend. And if you can spam 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and they're having to constantly equal or like, defend up a little bit more, then they're starting to like wear out their health bars, ticking away as yours is like slowly, steadily maintaining as theirs. Then you can get to the point where they're finally gonna, because they wanna request this unspoken break time, and usually, if people are not good at maintaining their energy, their stamina, they're like 2s and 3s and 4s, which you'll get if you're not very efficient with your movement, are blocked by, and then the unspoken break time, okay, and then we can both like recover, and it's like we're going to keep doing this. But if you're crisp and clean with your mechanics, and you're able to have very efficient application of your motions, then you're shooting out little efficient things, and then they go, okay, let's breathe, and then you're like, but you don't say that. You don't even have time for that. You immediately blast into like a big, massive explosion. It doesn't have to be an explosion, but you basically have saved up your triple double combo move, whatever that may be, whether that's a takedown or a back take or a sweep or a submission attempt. It doesn't matter what it is, but this is a move that might take 4 or 5 stamina, and that's okay because you can like combo, and we're like, honestly, the best combo I've ever gotten into an unspoken break time where I've taken advantages was like 8 or 9 move sequences in, and that was like with a training partner who I knew very well. I had very good chemistry with. We both knew our games pretty well. Most of the time, these combos will last like 3 or 5 is like a lot. 5 is a lot. 3 is about average. So you'll do something, they'll do something, and you're just going back and forth, and it's like a very short period of time. But when you reach the end, whoever's more tired is going to put that unspoken request for a break sooner by trying to lock down position. And if it's not quite secure, you can take advantage of that by just, here's my next 2 or 3 stamina move, which is really hard to counter, and they just don't have the gas tank, they just can't, and they just collapse, and you go through their frames and you get the next position. And you can do that to people who are way better than you. Now, how do we maximize our chances of getting to a position where we can take advantage of unspoken break time? Because if you are in the red when they're also in the red, it doesn't matter if you want to take advantage of the unspoken break time, you simply do not have the stamina points, metaphorically speaking. I guess it would be glucose or blood oxygen, I'm not sure. The thing that makes your muscles move, you don't have enough of that, so we're going to call it stamina points because it's really easy to talk about. You can have more stamina points by being in better shape, but truthfully, having the efficient motion is going to be way better. Like, let's say, for example, you have a 40-gallon gas tank in a diesel truck and it burns like 10 miles a gallon, versus you have a 25-gallon gas tank in the super efficient hybrid that burns like 100 miles a gallon. You may have like way more fuel for this tanker, but it's gonna go all the way through its gas tank. Meanwhile, this little fish will. And if you can incorporate other aspects of how to win matches, such as trickery or dominant positions, with the background stamina game, you can really destroy people's will. You can get to positions where you're going to have a 2 or 3 stamina move that cost them 10 to defend when you're more rested and they're not as well rested. Most of these positions are going to be off of takedowns, guard passes, back takes, etc., but mount things where you're like in an extremely dominating position, you can get like body triangles, and you can just sit there and just like patiently and calmly take a big deep breath as I fill my lung, and my lungs are expanding into your chest as you're being crushed into the mat, and it's like, ooh, and you got to do 10 stamina points to get out, and I'm literally like recovering. Like it's positive 0.5 for me to do this move. And people are going to have to spend 10 points, metaphorically speaking. I'm just, these numbers are kind of made up, but you get what I'm saying? They have to spend so much energy to get out. And if you can sit there and wait and make them work hard and hard and hard, and then you trick them into getting in a worse position, then almost no one survives. Like if you spend all of your energy and you think you're fighting to a good position, meanwhile you are tricked into actually putting yourself into a way worse position, and you both know it, and then you realize that your opponent has way more energy than you, and like then you're in one of those other ways to win, like let's say the dominating positions, maybe you're in the crucifix position where there's nothing they can do to defend and you have way more energy than them. That is how you beat people way better than you. But it comes with having efficient movement, good strategy, being in shape, recognizing the pacing of the game, and not letting people put you in energy suck positions. I always, when I'm rolling, in the background of my mind, I'm thinking, am I burning more energy than them, or are they burning more energy than me? And this is not something that I've perfected. It's something that I think as I go into my later career as a grappler, I'm really going to flesh out. But we'll see where it takes me. So yeah, this is my rant on energy conservation. It was requested, so thank you so much for watching it. If you're here, as always, you can support the channel by leaving comments and questions, because that's one of the best ways for me to get inspiration for things to talk about. Appreciate y'all. Peace.